What's up, guys? The red light is on. Episode 2 with Ashlee Rebel Girl Evans-Smith. 2, we made it. How are you?
I'm good. It was an awesome weekend. I co-hosted a grappling event called Submission Only Series. It's actually my
Looked so
boyfriend.
good. On top of it looked amazing.
It was so cool. It's like a jiu-jitsu event that's never been done before. You have grappling, but it's surrounded by music and vendors, and it's just a really good vibe. It's not just a grappling event, it's a whole party. It's a whole thing, and it's fun. So I got to co-host that with a popular wrestler named Zeta Zhang. She's
Yeah.
awesome. I've had her on the Sex and Violence of Rebel Girl podcast before. Had a really fun time. That was in combination with the USA Grappling World Team Trials. So there were some awesome super fights, but then there were high level wrestling grappling matches, and the winners of those went on to compete in Serbia. So they got a paid trip to compete at the Worlds in Serbia.
That's awesome. That's very cool. It looked phenomenal. It looked beautiful out there. That's awesome. Very cool. Okay. So I think, what was it? I was Friday, I believe Friday or Saturday. I listened to the Joe episode, Bazooka Joe. Very cool. I don't know. Do you, after you record with someone, do you listen to it right away, or do you listen to it when it comes out, or do you not listen to it at all?
You know, I would like to say that I listen to the episodes post production, but I
Yeah.
don't. I don't like my voice. I don't like to hear myself. I love talking to people. I love podcasting, but I guess I'm just like, I don't want to hear my own voice. I do post the clips, and so I'll see little segments of it. But unless I've got to, go in there for some kind of sponsorship reason, I don't really listen to the whole episode again.
Oh my goodness. For one, that's so funny to say that. Your voice is amazing. Your voice is so smooth and sweet. And when you, I don't know, so you did this to me like 10 times in the episode. And every time I kind of like snickered, you go, Joe, like, like something he said, like, come on, Joe. And how you said it, I thought it was gold. I was like, this episode is so good. That was episode 69. Some of the things, and everyone's different and to each their own. I'm so pro female wife and having two girls of my own and letting them be individuality and tattoos. Like, I'm so pro that. And it seems like, just, if I could say, he wasn't. So I just think we didn't connect on that aspect. But you were so good. You're like, Joe.
I
It was awesome.
think I talked to my sound engineer DJ Zoll, who has been with me since day one, and I'm like, "What do you think of that episode?" And he said, from a male's perspective, he said it was nice, it was refreshing. He said he connected with Joe on a lot of things, dating, relationships, and sex wise. So
Right?
that's the great thing of having all these amazing people on. It's that we're not all the same, and someday the listener is going to listen to a guest and be like, yes, this is my person. I really resonate. And then other times they may shake their head and be like, wow, I can't believe there's people out there like that. But that's okay. The whole podcast is celebrating diversity.
100%. Couldn't say it any better. And that's why you get paid the big bucks. And yeah, it makes the world go round. So that's episode 69. We're on to episode 70. We'll drop in a couple days. Sydney Battlecat. The funny thing about Sydney, and we'll kind of get into a funnier thing with someone you were talking to about on the show, was I talked to Sydney like around 2 years ago. And just because, yeah, you said she's in Belgium, she's in a different country. And it's like, it was a weird way to contact her. Like, it was through the WhatsApp, but through another thing. So I tried to talk to her, and I got her on with me just for a couple minutes. But when we tried to go to the show, it just didn't work. It didn't connect. So I never had her on the show. But man, she's been around so long, have done so many cool things. I cannot wait for that episode. Should be phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of people, a lot of newer fighters, females, males, they don't know the history of the sport. They don't know about the pioneers, the men and the women who came before them. And Cindy's one of those women. She's been in the sport for a very long time, since 2009. That was her first fight. I think it was my senior year of college. Still didn't compete, didn't even know what the hell MMA was. And this
Right.
woman was fighting Marlo Cohen at the time, who was an Invicta title contender, and she went on. She was going to fight Gina Carano, who we all know is an epic legend of the women's mixed martial arts community. So Cindy's been there. She's been there from the beginning, and I do not want to mess up her last name. It's Dandois. I called her Cindy Dandoids. Very American of me. I'm so sorry, but it's Cindy Battlecat Dandois, who's coming up next on Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl.
You nailed it, by the way. And Gina is such a legend. She has her own damn action figure. Well, like, come on now. She's a hero.
Yeah, Gina's, I think she's the pretty face in the beginning where everyone thinks of like who was the first, but there were plenty of women. I've had Tanya Evinger, all these women, Sheila Gaff. It's just so many women before us, and I feel good because I do feel like I'm paying tribute to the women that came before me on my show. Yeah, so I'm getting to spotlight newer fighters, older fighters, people who are fans of fighting.
Right. Talking about an older female who, it's so funny. So listen to your show, and like kind of your first 4 or 5 minutes was always on just like what you're doing, what real life, how how your surgery is going and all that stuff. And you mentioned the Netflix, and you mentioned Christy Martin. And you're like, so like you were like, dude, this was amazing, blah blah. And like I'm like, it just hit me. So I'm driving on the highway, and I'm like, I had literally Christy Martin in this studio right here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And kind of the funny thing is, to be really honest, to be blunt honest, is when I kind of did the interview, I really didn't know that much of Christy Martin. Like I'm that guy. I'm 37. So my teenager, I grew up on The Ultimate Fighter, just like hopefully everyone else did. I watched it first season. I'm like, oh, I got to watch this. It's on Spike, blah, blah, blah. The rest is history, So that was kind of at the end of Christy Martin. And one of my best friends in the business, Pete White, kind of hooked up an interview because she promotes boxing events. And she came in, I looked her up. I'm like, dude, she's amazing. I just like kind of most of the fights and the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But then when I talked to her, she kind of told some of the story that happened. And I did not know this story. So I'm like, I felt bad that I didn't do like the uber crazy research, but I didn't even know, like you say once in a while too, like you don't want to find out everything because you want to be some organic stuff. But I felt awful not hearing the story. And then she kind of talked about it. And I'm like, I kind of picked up on it a little bit, but not everything. Dude, she is a legend. Like, she's amazing.
Dude, so to the listeners, to the viewers who don't understand what we're talking about, if you have not watched the Christy Martin documentary on Netflix, it's on right now. It's up right now. It's called Untold, Deal with the Devil. There's a whole bunch of series. It's not just Christy Martin in this Untold documentary series, but her story is amazing because we all know Christy Martin as a badass pioneer of women's boxing. Most people don't know that not only is she a warrior inside the ring, but this woman was shot, stabbed in the neck, I believe, and she lived to tell the tale. And she was shot and stabbed by her former trainer and ex-husband,
right.
Mr. Martin. So it's amazing because I didn't know all that story either, and you didn't know it. And maybe Christy might be happy about that in the sense that when I thought Christy Martin, the first thing I thought was just legend, trailblazer for women's sports everywhere. But now it's like, I want people to know not only did she come from this like crazy turmoil inside her marriage, but also she struggled with her sexuality early on. She came from a closed-minded family about, lesbianism and homosexuality. And she not only did she have to, I don't know if she had to, but not only did she marry a man, but she basically was said some homophobic remarks in the prime of her career just to battle through all of the adversity, in society, and then end up with a woman now. Now she's, I don't know if she's engaged or anything, but she's happily with her partner, a female. So it's just this epic, perfect guest for Sex and Violence, don't you think? Story about this woman who's a pioneer of women's combat sports, struggle with her sexuality, and will not die. This woman, she doesn't know the meaning of quit, whether it's, in the ring or in real life. I'm so inspired. My little fucking spine surgery, nothing compared to what this woman's been through. And I'm dying to talk to her. I really want to get her on the podcast.
Okay. I would assume you have connections to her, and if not, I'll hit you up afterwards, and we'll try to connect you two guys. She would be amazing on your show because I think you guys would connect, and I think you guys would just vibe like peanut butter and jelly.
I think the biggest thing for me, what I would like to tell her is that I want the newer generation of female fighters to know what she's about, because we do have a lot of icons in the sport, but you can't beat Christy Martin. Like that's there's no one like her. So, you know, I'm gonna slide into her DMs. If that doesn't work, it usually does. It
It
usually works.
does. It does. 2021. It's what we do. It's crazy. And so funny. Like, so yeah, I'm driving on the highway and like I'm not that person at all. I'm not that clout person at all. But I'm like, Ashlee, look at this picture. It's Christy in this studio. It was like it was just one of those moments. We have you for less than a minute. I would love your take. We usually, like I said, we're not going to do a lot of MMA fights and takes in this, and it's all about the pod and stuff outside it. But kind of this weekend is a big main event. UFC Vegas 39. Last weekend was a female main event. All three bonuses, 4 bonuses went to all females, which is awesome. This weekend's another female main event, Aspen Ladd versus Dumont. But then, of course, I go to Tapology, and I look through the Tapology. You know, if you follow Fight Bananas, one of my best friends in the business, Felicia Spencer, who she just fought 3-4 months ago, lost on a split decision. I'm biased. I thought Felicia won. But then I saw she was on your record as well. So I would just love your 20, 30-second take on Dumont versus Ladd in the main event.
Oh man, so hard. I think Norma Dumont is a strong powerhouse. You know, I fought her, I lost, and there's not much I can say besides that woman has a lot of power. And Aspen Ladd, I know she struggled with making the bantamweight division, so she
Right.
may come in a little underweight, you know. And with this woman, with Dumont, you need every pound. Let me tell you that, personally speaking. So my money, honestly, is on Dumont, but I think I'm very happy that Ladd has made that move up because just like
Yeah.
Norma struggled making bantamweight as well, and I understand because there's so much more competition at bantamweight, but I think you've got 2 high-level featherweights finally in the divisions that they should be at, and it's going to be a great fight.
It really is. And it's kind of crazy you say that. There is so much more competition at bantamweight. Featherweight's wide open. Like if Aspen Ladd wins this fight or Dumont, and Dumont just beat Felicia, then Aspen, like Dumont's going to fight Amanda Nunes if she wants to, you know, throw that title out there. So I think the featherweight division's wide open. I'm happy that both these girls are at 145. I hope a couple more moves up that ladder to kind of really get that division, get some rivals and some meat and some matchups in the featherweight division.
Yeah, you want to see depth in every division,
Right.
males, females, you know, you want exciting fights. And, you know, let's face it, the featherweight division is just not as stacked as any of the other female weight classes. But with women like Dumont and Aspen Ladd kind of making featherweight their home and staying there, I think the division has a lot of potential. I ain't going to featherweight. I'm home at bantamweight.
Yeah.
I struggled to make featherweight out of my mind, but yeah, bantamweight, unfortunately, you know, your average woman, we fall but somewhere between flyweight and bantamweight. As an athlete, you don't have a lot of huge women and too many very small women, but
Right.
you know, I love to see an atomweight division because those little girls can scrap. My favorite fighter, atomweight fighter, is Elise Anderson. She fights for ONE FC now. If you don't know who she is, she's a mini killer.
Uh, it's been talked about so much that 105 division has to come up sooner or later. Just has to. It will. Guys, right there at the bottom, shop at sexviolencewithrebelgirl.com. Subscribe on all podcast platforms. Follow on IG. There we go. We just sold everything. Episode 70, the Battle Cat will be out very, very soon. Episode 69, Bazooka Joe was awesome. And we're going to do this again. So this is number 2. Can't wait. Next week will be number 3.
I'm excited, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, Ash. Have a good day.